Deku was the son of Aizawa, part 2. Before I do get into this, go check out the top link in the description. That is my second channel, Anime Outlet number 2. I'll be posting sneak peeks to the video. There'll be maybe a minute of today's video in there and other videos. I'll also be posting there if this channel just happens to disappear. So go subscribe to that, as it is my secondary channel. I'll probably post there daily around there. So I hope you guys do enjoy that channel. And getting into this what if, where I left off, Bakugo was just beat by Mineta in the UA Sports Festival. Now it's Izuku's turn to face off against Todoroki. Now it's a very open and shut fight. They both walk up there with Izuku erasing Todoroki's cork. However, Izuku then just says, "Todoroki, I just learned a new ability. I can erase half of someone's cork if they have a cork such as yours. So now you can only use your fire. So if you want to win this sports festival, I suggest you try and do something." To which Todoroki shakes his head and says, "I'll never use that bastard's cork." To which Izuku says, "Okay then," as Izuku runs towards Todoroki and goes for a punch. Todoroki was barely able to dodge it, as Izuku then uses that punch as a distraction and uppercuts Todoroki, knocking him out of the arena. Now, then Izuku goes on to the semifinals. Mineta also somehow goes on to the semifinals, as he loses to Tokiyami. Now Izuku would end up beating Ida in the semifinals, as he goes on to face Tokiyami, which Izuku then erases his cork, which is kind of interesting against Tokiyami. Basically, Dark Shadow won't come out, but his head still stays the same, so that's what happens. Now, after that, Izuku is declared the winner of the UA Sports Festival, as all of his classmates just congratulate him. After that, Izuku walks up onto the podium with Mineta somehow getting third place, using his pop-off cork to block Ida, basically not allowing him to run, or else he could have gotten stuck. Izuku up at first and Tokiyami down at second. Now, once the sports festival was done, Mineta was approached by a very tall person. I think you guys know where this is going. He just happened to have blonde hair, as All Might asked Mineta if he would like to become one of the greatest heroes of all time. Mineta, of course, saying yes, as All Might then jumps up and says, "Well, then you're in luck, young Mineta, as I, All Might, have deemed you worthy of my cork, one for all." Which All Might then explains what happens, as he says, "So you're going to choose me as your internships, and I'll teach you all that you need to know, and hopefully get you ready to use one for all." As Mineta just says, "Yes, I will try, All Might," as the rest of the class ends up choosing where they want to go for internships. Mineta, of course, having to choose All Might, Izuku choosing to go with Aizawa, being his dad. Now, Izuku would end up being trained very hard, along with Mineta. Now, Mineta would somehow be able to barely grasp 1% of one for all, which All Might saw. So All Might tried to teach him how to spread it across his body and use that one tiny percent, which it somehow worked a little bit. So Mineta now has full cow. A lot of you guys in the premiere said you hated the fact that I'm making Mineta somewhat of a main character. Well, he's not as pervy as he is in the anime, so toughen up, guys, come on. Now, getting back into the what if, Izuku and his dad, Aizawa, would end up going out on to patrol the last night, where they would meet up with Mineta going out to patrol as well, along with All Might. This is where they'd end up encountering hundreds of Nomus trying to attack the city. Aizawa would tell Izuku to go out and look for any civilians to evacuate them, to which Izuku starts hopping from building to building. So he ends up finding Ida stuck in an alleyway with the hero killer standing over top of him with a sword right through Ida's shoulder. Izuku would hop down and go to punch the hero killer, only to have a dagger thrown right at his face, and it cut right through his cheek. Izuku stands back up and charges at the hero killer, only to have the hero killer lick the knife that he threw, only to have Izuku stop and then smile, as he says, "I've heard about your cork stain, and I just erased it. So now it's over for you." As Izuku charges right at the hero killer and uppercuts him as the hero killer jumps back. The hero killer tries to slash Izuku with one of his swords, only to have Izuku use his capture gear on the hero killer, basically tying him up, as Izuku would slam his fist into the hero killer's head, knocking him out, giving Izuku the time to call the police and an ambulance for his friend Ida and the hero native. After that, Izuku would end up being praised for stopping the hero killer, as Izuku walks away. Now, this is the point where UA decides to instill dorms into their class. I mean, they already have dorms, but they just decide to up security on them, as Nezu thought of some threat might occur, as the villains are getting more ballsy and deciding to attack more often with these Nomu-type creatures. Now, a couple weeks pass, and during those couple weeks, Izuku was experimenting with his quirk. And when he was experimenting with it, he just so happened to accidentally, somehow, create a quirk. He's confused by this until he thinks for a moment. His quirk is Eraser, right? At least it's a more stronger form of what his dad's quirk is. Could he possibly have a sort of pencil quirk where he can create quirks? It'd be a stretch, but maybe he could copy other people's quirks. He'd have to learn about that in the future, as Izuku only got some type of telekinesis quirk to just use his capture gear, because he was just randomly drawing his capture gear and said maybe I could try and maybe if I had some type of telekinesis quirk I could use the capture gear better, and so now he has a random telekinesis quirk, which he just was confused about how he got it. Now Izuku, after this, would end up telling Aizawa this, that he just randomly somehow created a quirk, to which Aizawa said it must be a new ability from all the training he's been doing. So now after this, Izuku and everyone goes back to class, as it just happens to be the day of the final exams. Izuku would end up doing well on the written exam, as it's now for the hero final exam. Mineta also did okay on the exam, if you're wondering. Izuku would end up being paired up with Mineta against All Might. Mineta now having a 5% hold or grasp over One for All. Now, they walk into the fake city, as All Might would charge right at them, going for a punch. Izuku would dodge out of the way as he'd erase All Might's quirk, as All Might would instantly go into his skeleton form, with Mineta diving at All Might, pushing him into an alleyway away from all the cameras. Now Izuku would walk in and say, "So, it's All Might's real form. Knew something was up. Well, hey, just transform into your bigger form and we'll put handcuffs on you." As that's what they do, as they come out of the alleyway with All Might in handcuffs. Now, the entire class is shocked until they think, oh right, Izuku can erase any quirk very easily, so then he must have just simply erased All Might's quirk and clearly won. That's very interesting. As they all go and do their tests, and after that, Aizawa tells them that in 1 month's time, they will be going on a summer training camp. So they need to prepare, as they all do so. After that 1 month is over, they all end up piling onto a bus to travel to this summer training camp. They all end up having to stop as they are wondering why. Could the bus's tires have blown out or something? Until Aizawa forces them all to get out of the bus, where they end up meeting the Wild Pussycats, to where one of them slams their hands onto the floor, so they say, "Wait, what are you doing?" With Izuku erasing their cork, as he says, "I should have known you guys would have tried something as stupid as this. They were clearly trying to get us to fall down the mountain using their cork. Lucky I erased their cork. So why don't we all just get back on the bus, shall we?" As the Wild Pussycats are forced to let all the students get back onto the bus, as they all get back on the bus and travel to the Hero Agency or summer training camp type thing. I'm not sure if that's their agency or not. It might be. I'm not quite sure. As they all travel there and get there, as they all pile off the bus, as they are forced to make their own dinner. The Wild Pussycats say they were going to make dinner for themselves if they actually did the test that they were going to do, but since they didn't, they have to make their own dinner, which they do, no sweat, quite easily, as they say, "Wait, why are we making dinner now? It's barely lunchtime." To which they say, "Just make dinner." Now, the next couple days, they are put through torturous types of training. And on the final day of the summer training camp, at night, they decide to do some sort of test. 1B is tasked with scaring Class 1A inside the forest. They all walk into the forest ready to be scared, as Izuku was forced to sit out due to an injury as he fell down a mountain and cut himself on his arm, basically giving him a massive gash right across the back of his arm. Now, he ends up spotting a massive wall of blue fire consuming the forest. Izuku would point this out to the teachers, to which they'd look up to see this huge wall of fire as they try and get the students to come back, only to realize they don't have any communication with them. Until they think, "Wait, isn't Mandalay's cork that?" As I think it's Mandalay's cork, I'm not really sure, as she uses her cork to tell all the students to try and get back to training camp as villains are invading. Now, most of the students get back, but some incompetent ones, such as Bakugo and Todoroki, end up staying out there, feeling that they are strong enough to deal with any measly villains, especially if they're the same ones from the USJ. And so, they end up having to fight Moonfish. Izuku, remembering that Kota was still out there, would end up running to try and find him, where he finds Muscular. Izuku would permanently erase Muscular's cork, basically leaving Muscular just a muscular dude, with Izuku using his capture gear to capture Muscular. Izuku would tie up Muscular as he puts Muscular into his capture gear, or just randomly tying up, as he takes Muscular and Kota back to the training camp, where he places Muscular down in front of the heroes as they give him cork erasing handcuffs as they put them on Muscular. Izuku gives Kota back to the heroes as he runs out to try and find Bakugo and Todoroki, to which he ends up finding them fighting Moonfish. Izuku erases Moonfish's cork, only to instantly be placed into a marble along with Bakugo and Todoroki. Now, from there, they end up going through a portal, or Mr. Compressed does, along with Dabi and Toga, as they end up going and finding the bar, as Mr. Compressed lets out Bakugo, Izuku, and Todoroki, as they are put in a chair with cork erasing handcuffs on and tied up. From there, Izuku then is forced to sit there listening as Shigaraki is forced to try to explain to them why the villains are better and that they should join the villains. To which Bakugo yells he'll never join the villains, Todoroki yelling he won't join the villains either, only to have Shigaraki look at Izuku and smile very evilly. He'd say, Zuku, we have what you truly want. We can bring your mother back to life. To which Zuku just looks on in shock at Shigaraki and says, no, you can't. Stop lying. Only to have Shigaraki say, we can. You just have to join us. As Izuku says, how do I know you're not lying? Only to have Shigaraki play a clip of his mother saying, join them, Izuku. Join the League of Villains. They can bring me back to life. As Izuku is just looking on in shock as he's conflicted. He doesn't know what to do. Stay with his dad, the only member of his family that's still alive? Or try and go for his mom, the person that raised him for 4 years or for 10 years before she died? Who should he go with? He just doesn't know, as he says he needs more proof and maybe a picture would work. As Shigaraki gives him a picture of his mother in a test tube that's very big, something like what the Nomus would be in. So Izuku takes out his hand as he shakes Shigaraki's hand, says, fine, we have a deal. As Bakugo and Todoroki look on in shock at Izuku and say, what the hell are you doing, Izuku? As Izuku says, I'm trying to save my mom. You two would do the same, wouldn't you? As Todoroki looks down and says, maybe. As Shigaraki says, oh, that reminds me. Your mother, Rei Todoroki. She was in a mental hospital, correct? But we were able to save her. She's here right now. As Todoroki looks on in shock to see his mother stand right there as she runs up and hugs Todoroki. She says, join us, Todoroki, please. Then you can stay with me. As Todoroki starts crying as he wants to join them, as his handcuffs are taken off, as Shigaraki reaches out his hand to shake Todoroki, as Todoroki shakes his hand as well. Now Bakugo just says, my mother would never do something like that. As Shigaraki says, that's the exact reason why we killed her. As Toga comes out with a body bag and dumps it onto the floor. Bakugo looks on in shock to see his dead mother's carcass laying on the floor as Toga kicks the head as the head rolls over to look at Bakugo with empty eyes, completely void of life. Bakugo starts to cry as he has lost his mother as well. As they say, we could bring her back to life if you simply join us. To which Bakugo says, fine, I'll join you. As Shigaraki reaches out for a third handshake, to which he gets it from Bakugo. The three supposed strongest students in Class 1A have now joined the League of Villains. However, Izuku has been planning something the entire time. They spend 2 weeks with the League of Villains, basically just training, as Izuku's mother was ended up bringing back to life through the lab. As another week passes, only to have All Might yell pizza delivery. As he smashes down the door, Izuku takes this on cue as he erases all of the villains' quirks immediately, as the heroes tie them up very quickly. They say that was easy, there wasn't much of a fight, but hey, where are the students? As they see that some of them, or Bakugo, Todoroki, and Izuku have been tied up and look like they've been wearing villain costumes. All Might yells, have you traitors turned to the villains? As Izuku says, no. But technically we did for 2 weeks while you guys were searching for us. I mean, I had a plan this whole time to just wait for you guys to find us, then erase their quirks so you can capture them easily. And that somehow got them to bring my mother back to life. It's strange, but I still don't trust them that much. She could just be a random Nomu that looks like my mother. It's strange. As they hear clapping coming from the other room. As All for One walks out of this back room and says, "Well done, Zuko. You somehow were able to fool my successor. And for that, you will never see the light of day." As Izuku, knowing what All for One means, instantly erases most of All for One's quirks, leaving All for One to try to take their people's quirks. Izuku instantly uses the full extent of his power to erase most people's quirks in the area. This also erasing heroes' quirks, as it's now a fight against quirkless people. Izuku, knowing if he erases everyone's quirk, All for One won't be able to steal any quirks. Now, you may be wondering, why doesn't he just erase All for One's quirk? It's because All for One's quirk is probably the only quirk Izuku can't erase, as it takes quirks and destroys quirks and can give them to other people. He can't erase that quirk, but he certainly can erase other people's quirks to stop that quirk from getting out. Izuku, now being the only person with the quirk erased, runs at All for One and uses his fist to try and knock All for One out. Now, All for One, being over 100 years old, easily knows combat training and dodges Izuku as he grabs Izuku's fist and throws him into a building. Izuku then having to use his full strength to try and concentrate to see if he could somehow give some of the hero's quirks back, to which he gives All Might his quirk back, remembering that All for One cannot take one for all. And if you're wondering, how does Izuku know this? Mineta told him, since All Might said it was okay to tell Izuku, as All Might trusts the son of Aizawa, because there really was no point for Izuku to tell the secret. So Izuku gives All Might his quirk back, and All for One now having no quirks, All Might was able to use One for All 100% and smash All for One, knocking him unconscious, destroying his breathing device or respirator, as hundreds of police officers come out and restrain All for One and tie him up as they take him to a mental facility. Now, after this, Izuku gives all the heroes their quirks back as they thank him for the help, as All Might asks what they possibly did. Now, this is the point where Izuku explains what happened and how they got their mothers, Inko, Mitsuki, and Rei. They killed Mitsuki and forced Bakugo to join to bring her back to life. They took Rei out of the hospital and basically just kept her there so Todoroki would have to join. And they basically just tried to revive my mother, which I'm still not sure about. As All Might thinks interesting. Thanks, young Midoriya, for bringing this to my attention. As they all walk away back to UA, to where they are forced to explain everything that happened in the 2 weeks, to which Izuku said he just told All Might, but he'll be glad to explain it again to them. After one very long explanation of what happened over those 2 weeks, they finally go back to normal. Or so they thought. Izuku and the rest of the class are introduced to the Big Three, as Mirio says he wants to fight Izuku, seeing how powerful he was on the big screen after seeing his fight with All for One and seeing how he erased all those people's quirks. So the Class 1A goes down into the training facility, as Mirio then takes care of all Class 1A, beating them besides Izuku, to which Izuku then easily erases Mirio's quirk, as Izuku runs up to Mirio and tries to punch him, to which Mirio dodges and says, "See, I know combat training as well," as they go into a fist fight, each fist being blocked, as Izuku was able to land some key hits. Remember, he was being trained by Aizawa for almost 5 years. Izuku would inevitably be able to beat Mirio, as Aizawa tells the other 2 of the Big Three to go out and try and fight Izuku. to which Izuku would just erase their quirks and easily beat them as well. Now, from this point on, Izuku was now crowned the leader of the Big Four, being the strongest in UA, as he has had a race quirk. Now, if you're wondering about Mineta, he now has a somehow control over 30% of One For All, as he is somewhat taller than he was, having trained for a good significant amount of time. Now, after this, Izuku would end up going to another internship with the hero Night Eye, to which Night Eye would end up accepting him along with Mineta, only to have Night Eye try to reject Mineta and say that Mirio should have gotten One For All and not him, to which Mineta ends up trying to prove himself by not hitting any of the All Might posters, which somehow works. So after that, Mineta is accepted as they see the tickle hell. Basically, they walk out as Night Eye gives them the opportunity to go out on patrol with Mirio to try and find Overhaul, to which they end up finding him, but Izuku, not thinking in the moment, ends up using his quirk and having to back off, as that was the first time he truly encountered such a massive villain. Sure, All For One was such a massive villain, but Izuku basically has been plotting that for months, and there was a girl around which Izuku didn't want to get killed, so he was forced to back off. Mirio, Izuku, and Mineta would end up going back to Night Eye's agency, to where they tell Night Eye that they found Overhaul, to which Night Eye says that they will be planning a raid on Overhaul's base. Now, once they get inside, they start running through with many heroes following behind them. This is the point where Izuku ends up seeing Eri, as Izuku yells for Mineta to use some type of air pressure punch to get Overhaul away from Eri. Mineta tries this, as it works, to which Izuku puts Eri in Night Eye's care, as Izuku erases Overhaul's quirk instantly, as Overhaul gets out a gun, knowing that his quirk has been erased, as he shoots it right at Izuku, which hits Izuku right in the head. Izuku stays strong though and says, "Your quirk has now been erased." As Izuku says, "You can't erase an eraser." As Izuku rushes at Overhaul and kicks him in the head, sending him flying into the wall, knocking him out, as Izuku puts him in his capture gear and hands him over to the police, as they put him into custody. Now, this is the point where the villains, suspecting it would take longer, wouldn't actually end up destroying his hands, as he still has his hands, but his quirk has been erased, so it doesn't really matter. Now, the gentle criminal Izuku would encounter them, erase their two quirks, and easily defeat them as well, as Izuku would go on to become basically the number one hero, Mineta being the number two hero, as Izuku not really enjoying the fame, but it was okay to him, not as much as his father hated it though, as he just embraced it kind of. It wasn't really that bad to him. It was kind of bad, but it was okay because no villains wanted to mess with him because they didn't want their quirks to be permanently erased. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. That's what I can do. Oh my gosh, there's a spider crawling on my window. Huh, interesting. Hope that doesn't come out when I'm sleeping. But I hope you guys did enjoy this what if. I'll probably be down to only 2-part what ifs if I keep doing these longer parts, but they're enjoyable. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. Remember, go subscribe to Anime Outlet 2, top link in the description. The music I used is in the description, and part 1 will also be in the description. The Discord also as well. Make sure to go subscribe to Anime Outlet 2. Once again, that's going to be my second channel. I'll post almost daily on that. And if this channel just happens to disappear, I'll be posting what ifs on that as well. So as a backup, go subscribe to that channel. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.